Right. Let's get back to the second exciting installment of the nematoda. Just a quick review. They're typically small. The free living ones certainly are. Some of the parasites can get quite a bit bigger than that. There is an open cavity in the body in which the gut is suspended, and it's filled with fluid. It's not lined with mesodermal tissue, which means it's sometimes referred to as a pseudocoel. Whether there's a true difference between a pseudocoel and a coelom is something that I have seen debated, so we're not really going to get into that. The body contains bands of longitudinal muscles running head to tail, but no circular muscles, meaning that these can't move by inching. They can't constrict any part of the body. They can just thrash back and forth. There's no functional cilia in or out of the body. I think there are some little ciliary remnants in at least one species, but they certainly don't swim with them. The pharynx is triradiate, meaning it's just got three muscle bundles, giving it in cross-section a shape rather like the Mercedes-Benz logo. Often at the end of it, there's an extra thick bulb for suction. Nematodes feed by suction. There's a nerve ring that gives rise to four main nerve cords and a post-anal tail. And there is your typical nematode, one of the most studied invertebrates ever, Caenorhabditis elegans, where you can see all of the basic features. The tail is the pointy bit up at the top center. The head is the blunter end down at the lower right. Internally, you can see that pharynx with the bulb. Most of the grainy stuff in more or less the midsection of the animal is ovary. There's colorized anatomy right there. The digestive system is in dark blue with the openings inside the digestive system in orange. In green, just back of the bulb, you can see that nerve ring. And in light blue, you can see the excretory pore, which leads to a couple of cells that extract waste from the fluid inside. That structure is called the rennet. And C. elegans is one of the few animals with the sexes male and hermaphrodite. Males are actually pretty uncommon, at least in wild populations. They're about 0.5%. Most are hermaphrodites that will start as male, make sperm, and then switch to female and fertilize their own eggs with stored sperm, although they will mate with a male if one's available. In the worm below, the ovary has been colored hot pink, and you can see eggs and even developing embryos inside. In the male, the testis has been colored light blue, and you'll notice the tail looks a little weird because males have a pouch surrounding the cloaca, the common exit for sperm and feces, called the copulatory bursa. Bursa is Latin for a purse, what you might carry money in. And within the bursa, there's some copulatory spicules. One of them is labeled SCL in that photo on the right. And when worms mate, the spicules are inserted into the female's vulva. They hold it open, and they guide the sperm in, because the sperm, if you remember, are amoebas. The sperm can't swim. And again, males are actually rare in wild populations, and hermaphrodites can self-fertilize, but they'll seek out males if they get the chance. Ecdysozoans, nematodes, arthropods, and a few others shed their skins. They periodically molt their cuticles. There's a surface coat of glycoproteins and carbohydrates, and in parasitic taxa, That's important for countering the host's immune response. Below that, you have a lipid-rich layer, the epicuticle, and below that, the layer shown in bright blue, there's a cortical layer that's rich in proteins, rich in this highly cross-linked protein called cuticulin. Below that, you'll notice there are some layers of collagen. The collagen fibers actually wrap the worm at an angle to the long axis. One layer spirals around the worm at 75 degrees to the long axis. That's that Greek letter theta that you see. And another set of fibers spirals around the worm at 135 degrees. So you've got this kind of double spiral arrangement of the collagen fibers. That holds up very well when the worm bends. When the worm bends, the fluid pressure on it increases, and this spiral wrapping is a very strong arrangement. Collagen fibers are pretty stiff, but arranging them this way, you actually get very good flexibility, and when the worm bends, it doesn't form kinks. It doesn't form those kind of pinched areas that you'd see if you just took, let's say, a very long balloon and bent it. You don't get those folds or those pinchings in a bending nematode. There's the head, very typical triradiate symmetry. The mouth is surrounded by these three lips. The lips may have various mouth parts on them, teeth or whatnot. In whatever species this is, there are some sensory bristles surrounding the mouth, aka the setae, counting what's on the head, how many setae, if any, there are, and what they're arranged in, how they're arranged. That's important for identifying species. There you have some plant parasitic nematodes. That's one called Globidera that parasitizes potatoes. And you can see that sticking out of its mouth, you have a piercing stylet, like a little needle, that these nematodes use for piercing plant cells and slurping up the contents. That's a plant parasite, but there are animal parasitic nematodes that have this as well. There's also some free-living predatory nematodes that would have this. Many free-living nematodes have odd little deedly bobs on their heads. This one, it's a plant parasite. You can kind of see that the body has these rings on it. They're not segments, they're just ring-shaped thickenings of the cuticle. And the head has these rather odd cuticular extensions. The head has these little branching things sticking out of it. There may also be sensory organs on the head or elsewhere on the cuticle. Most of your animal parasites are pretty smooth, but this is an exception. This is one that our vet people might know or will know at some time. Toxocara cati is the feline arrowhead worm. It's a gut parasite, I believe, and the head has got these three kind of fins or flanges on it, surrounding that triradiate mouth, shaped like a Y that you can see. And here we've got a pair of free-living nematodes, but you might find these on parasites as well. These are pit-shaped chemosensory organs called amphids. The one on the right, the amphid, is just kind of roundish. The one on the left, the amphid, is shaped like a spiral. That thing that looks like a little snail shell on the head of Achromodora. And I only mention this because the shape and the location of the amphids are important for classification. So is the shape and location of sensory pits on the tail that happen to be called phasmids.